What is up, everyone? Welcome to episode 131 of the Nest Podcast. It's your boy Brandon coming to you live from Nest Studios, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host Zach. Zach, what's up, dude?
What up?
What did you think of that Super Bowl last night? Did you get enough football action in your life?
Boy, it was okay. It wasn't terrible. Not necessarily a great game, obviously, very lopsided, but not too bad. Before we get too deep into the weeds, I do want to thank everybody that's been watching this year. We're new to the NFL Trash Talk group, and it's been a really fun year covering football for those guys. It's great to have people in the comments and all that stuff. I'm assuming we're inevitably going to lose some people now that the football season's over. If you're not into baseball, then you really don't have much to look forward to. But I hope everyone comes back next year from the Trash Talk group and continues on, because it's been really fun doing shows for those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. Good way to just throw them out there real quick. I am going to continue doing episodes with them every other week, all throughout the off season. I'm going to have to try to find football information to talk about in there, because I don't think I can necessarily go in there and talk about baseball and MMA in a football trash talk group, but I'll figure that out. I know I am going to be doing a lot of draft analysis. I'm going to be doing a lot of actual draft analysis when that occurs, and I'm going to be doing a lot of fantasy football takes. So if you're into any of that, then go ahead and go follow NFL Trash Talk 2021, and you'll be able to get exclusive content right there from Nest Podcast. I'm sure Zach will join me from time to time, and we'll talk about whatever's going on. If anything major happens, like if the Chicago Bears screw up and decide to trade for Carson Wentz or something crazy like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm assuming there's going to be some decent trades to talk about. Maybe Deshaun Watson will end up somewhere. Who knows? But yeah, hopefully there's an exciting off season to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm sure something will happen. If not, we'll create something out of nothing. We kept this thing going the entire COVID situation whenever we didn't have sports at all. So I'm sure that we can figure something out whenever it's just the off season for the NFL. Anyway, I did want to talk about things, and obviously the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl yesterday, so I kind of felt like we needed to have a bit of a pirate theme tonight. You'll notice in the description I've got Ahoy me Hearties and stuff like that. Like I went with a whole pirate description and all that. But I wanted to specifically talk about curses. I felt like that it kind of has like the whole pirate theme to it as well. Like Johnny Depp's movie Curse of the Black Pearl and all that stuff. But I'm specifically wanting to talk about the curse of the MVP. Zach, we've talked about it several times that it is a real thing in the NFL, and a lot of people, for whatever reason, don't pay attention to it. But are you a believer now?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I was a believer to begin with. I mean, the stat of Kurt Warner is the last NFL MVP to also win a Super Bowl in the same year is a wild stat. The Madden curse used to be a huge one, that if you were on the Madden curse, you got injured. I think that's been broken. That's probably been broken for several years now.
Yeah, there were the four most recent covers of Madden were in this past Super Bowl: Gronk, AB, Brady, and Mahomes. Those four were the most recent four covers of that game. I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that the Madden curse has been broken. The MVP curse, it's legit.
Absolutely.
But that being said, Aaron Rodgers was the MVP this season. He did walk away with his, what is that, his third, I think?
It's either, second or third. Probably second at least.
I'm actually thinking it's his third MVP. So that's, a nice little feather in his cap. That'll be something that's considered whenever it's a Hall of Fame induction time, is like, oh, well, he had this many Hall of Fame or this many MVPs and stuff like that. So it'll go a long way eventually. But for right now, it just means that he wasn't in the championship game. He didn't win the Lombardi trophy. And that's ultimately what these guys are playing for.
Right.
Did you have any doubt that it would go to anybody other than A-Rod?
No, I mean, for at least 3 or 4 weeks now, he's pretty much locked it up. Middle of the season, there was a toss-up who it was going to go to, but at the end there, it was definitively his.
Yeah, I agree. And deservedly so. We've been talking about it for weeks now that we thought that he was going to be the MVP, and I'm glad to see whenever we make a prediction like that, it comes true because it makes us look a little bit better. But there were some other awards that were handed out at the NFL honors the night before the Super Bowl, and some of them were to be expected. Others kind of raised a few question marks. Of course, Aaron Rodgers MVP, Derrick Henry won the Offensive Player of the Year, which, I mean, the dude rushed for over 2,000 yards. I don't think you're really going to have anybody complain about it. Some people might complain that he didn't win the MVP award, but it is what it is. Aaron had a little bit better of a season. And I'm honestly thinking that the MVP is basically just the best quarterback of the year award is what it boils down to. Yeah. And then the Offensive Player of the Year is the best overall offensive player, which went to Derrick Henry. Rookie of the Year, Justin Herbert. I agree wholeheartedly with that. A lot of people were raising the fact that it could have been Justin Jefferson from the Vikings. He put up incredible numbers for a rookie, but Herbert came out of nowhere, shocked the world, and I agree with that. Comeback Player of the Year, if it was anybody other than Alex Smith, I would be outraged right now, but Alex Smith walked away with it, and him being able to walk away from anything is amazing in and of itself. Kevin Stefanski was Coach of the Year, which I agree with. That he took the Browns to an 11-win season. Amazing. Russell Wilson, Man of the Year. I guess he's got to get something because he's not getting any MVP awards. But the one that really shocked a lot of people was the Defensive Player of the Year, Aaron Donald. What did you think of that, Zach?
That was for sure an interesting one because at first glance, Aaron Donald's like, oh yeah, it makes total sense. He's a force to be reckoned with out there. And then if you do a deep dive like you do if you're JJ Watt and post some stats of TJ Watt, you see that TJ's stats are better. And then that just starts the whole argument. Aaron Donald gets double teamed, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. I think there's room for debate there. I'm not necessarily angry at Aaron Donald getting it, but statistically, it makes more sense that TJ Watt would get it.
I agree. And, JJ Watt tweeted out on his brother's behalf and was saying that, like, hey, here are the stats. Numbers don't lie. I'm only saying it because he's not going to do it. But I've heard people defending Aaron Donald in this position that he was the Defensive Player of the Year, basically saying that he's double and triple teamed every game against every team, and he still puts up the stats that he does. That's all well and good. But if TJ Watt's out there putting up these numbers and the teams aren't adjusting to him, that's not his fault. Why should he be penalized because other teams aren't making that adjustment to him? I mean, that just seems like it's a kind of a crap argument in my opinion.
Right. And I think what people fail to realize is that these awards aren't just objective. They're not just going solely off of a player's stats. I think there's some not necessarily emotion, but there's something that drives these voters to vote for these specific players. Mm-hmm. They don't just look at the stats and say, this guy has the best one, he gets the award. There's something more to it. And whatever they decide that deciding factor is their decision to make. And for whatever reason, they think that Aaron Donald did a better job or was more impactful or whatever the case may be. But I mean, I wouldn't necessarily be too up in arms about it. If I was TJ Watt, those awards, I guess, like you said, maybe helps you in the Hall of Fame or whatever, but he's still putting up solid numbers for a defenseman. So I wouldn't be too worried about it.
Yeah. And I would imagine that eventually he's going to be getting some of these accolades for end of year awards or something like that. I know ultimately the Steelers missed out on going to the Super Bowl, and that's what they all had their hearts and minds set on anyway, but better luck next year. Only 2 teams make it to the Super Bowl every year, so that means 30 teams are sitting at home not happy. There were some people that were sitting at home happy, and those were the recent inductees into the Hall of Fame. And this list kind of drew some question marks around the internet, although I don't really see how or why. Some of the lesser known ones, offensive lineman Alan Beneka. I'm not sure if that's even how you pronounce his name. I apologize to him if it is not correct, but apparently he and one other guy are the only linemen that were even eligible for the Hall of Fame, and he was able to get in, and I'm sure that opens the door for the other guy to get in next year. Head coach Tom Flores got in this year, and then a list of guys that I feel like deserved to get in. Safety John Lynch, which he played for Tampa Bay, so it was kind of cool that he got inducted into the Hall of Fame the same year that Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl, the same year that it was in Tampa. Kind of special feelings for him. Wide receiver Calvin Johnson, which a lot of people threw up the red flag on, saying like he shouldn't have been a first ballot guy. We'll get to that in a minute. Cornerback Charles Woodson got named, which that's a pretty special one, especially considering that he's going in at the same time as quarterback Peyton Manning. Longtime football fans will remember that Charles Woodson won the Heisman Trophy over Peyton Manning when they were coming out of college. So it's kind of cool that they're going into the Hall of Fame at the same time. And I'm sure Peyton Manning is going to be the head of the class. So he's going to probably mention something about that in his Hall of Fame induction speech. But what did you think about Megatron? And do you think he deserves to be first ballot, or was that, something that you thought could have waited a little bit?
I have zero problem with it. I mean, people will say that he was only in the league for 9 years or whatever it was, and whatever else they're going to say. But I think from a more personal standpoint, and not just looking at pure statistics, that dude was the real deal. We all know how terrible the Lions have been for years, and for him to do what he did with a crappy team was absolutely just remarkable. And that guy, much like Aaron Donald, was double teamed, triple teamed at times, and still managed to have a great career. The thing about Megatron is, if he were put on some other team, any decent team, who knows what would have happened? He would probably have had one of the best wide receiver careers ever if he would have had a good offense.
In that season that he had Randy Moss, we could have seen, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 championships rolling through New England during that period of time. But it is what it is. He played in Detroit. He had Matt Stafford slinging him the rock for a little while. Maybe that is in part why Matt Stafford got such a big contract this year, is because he had that at some point in his history. But it is what it is. I agree. I think that he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He only spent 9 years in the league, which seems a little bit shy of a lot of these guys that make it to the Hall. But what he did in those 9 years really matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about the big game. We're here to fire the cannons. That's the saying in Tampa Bay when they score a touchdown, is fire the cannons. So when they win the Super Bowl, I imagine that they shoot every round that they have on the ship, right? Because they're celebrating. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers once again have won the Super Bowl. And this time they were the first team to do it as the home team hosting the Super Bowl. Pretty cool to see. Pretty cool to see them, when they announced it at the end, when Roger Goodell was out there minus his mask, which is ironic because he fined people for not wearing a mask properly, but he was on stage not wearing a mask. I digress. He said the Lombardi Trophy is staying in Tampa Bay. And I thought that was pretty cool, because usually he says it's going to wherever won. So that was pretty neat to see. What did you think of it being hosted in Tampa Bay and the Bucs actually winning the whole damn thing?
That was super cool. Especially for that fan base. I mean, how much more fired up could you possibly get if you're a Bucs fan to have the Super Bowl in your hometown, and your hometown is in the Super Bowl is cool in and of itself. But then they go on and win it definitively. That was super cool for that organization.
Now we got comment saying on here, home field advantage when they were the 5th seed in the NFC. Yeah, it is what it is. They pick where the Super Bowl is going to be played years and years in advance. It just happened that they won on the road in New Orleans. They won on the road in Green Bay and got the opportunity to be a home field team in the Super Bowl. It's not like they rigged it in any way. They had to play on the road to get there. So yeah. I imagine that's somebody that's just a little bit sour that the Chiefs didn't walk away with it. But now Tom Brady has 7 rings, 7 Super Bowl championships. The most any franchise in the NFL has is 6. Tom Brady has more rings than any franchise. How wild of a stat is that?
Unreal.
This dude, all he does is win. I mean, I know he's lost a couple Super Bowls. He could have 10 at this point if he had won them all, but 7 rings is phenomenal. He still has one less ring than Bill Belichick, though. Old Bill's got 8. So
Right.
let's not quite get too far ahead of ourselves because Bill still has more rings. But speaking of those Patriots and Bill Belichick, it is worth noting that the 3 touchdowns that Tom Brady threw passes to were all to former Patriots players.
Yeah.
2 to Gronk and 1 to Antonio Brown. Interesting how that worked out, huh?
Yeah. You can tell that he has his kind of favorite players that he obviously has known since before this season. And I'm sure he's built, obviously, especially with Gronk, he's built a strong relationship with, and he seems to have a thing for Antonio Brown and brought him along on this team to win a Super Bowl. So for sure, he's got like a little connection with those 2 guys.
Yeah, between he and Gronkowski, they now have 14 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, which is clearly an all-time record. That's insane to think about them having that many touchdowns in just the Super Bowl, but that's a record that you probably won't ever see get broken unless you have Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill going back every single year and connecting for multiple touchdowns, but they didn't get any this game.
Yeah. Crazy thing to see. I kind of, obviously this is Monday morning quarterback, but I feel dumb for not rooting, but just, I guess, picking against Tom Brady. I mean, what more do you need to understand that he can do it? He can do it almost every damn time he shows up to the Super Bowl. And this game was no exception. He did what he had to do. It wasn't necessarily won by Tom Brady. Obviously that Bucs defense was huge, but nonetheless, I mean, he knows exactly what to do in that game now. He's been there so many damn times. It's like a cakewalk for him now.
Yeah, you could definitely tell that there was a clear experience factor going on there. But I mean, like our commenter said earlier, he was a 5th seed going in. So the smart money was on the Kansas City Chiefs coming in as a 1 seed. They had won 15 games this season. They had been pretty dominant, or 14 games or whatever it was that they won. And they had been pretty dominant. They had been that, what they call themselves, the Ferrari on offense. And they lighten teams up, scoring 30 plus points every game. And then to come into the Super Bowl and be held to only 9 points, 3 field goals. That's it. It was pretty incredible to see. I know Tom Brady ended up being the Super Bowl MVP. He threw for 201 passing yards. He had 3 touchdown passes and, most importantly, 0 interceptions. But it was the rushing and the defense that won that game for the Bucs, in my opinion. The rushing was huge, and it doesn't really get a lot of credit. Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette, they changed the outcome of the game. They were able to move the sticks, keep control of the ball, keep Kansas City off the field so they didn't have more opportunities and more chances. And they ate up yardage. Fournette had 89 yards and a touchdown, and Jones added another 61 yards to his credit. So that's like 150 yards combined that those 2 guys had. And that was huge. That was a big addition to that game. And it was something that, I talked about it on Big Baby podcast, that I thought if anybody from the Bucs was going to get the game MVP, it would have been Ronald Jones, because I thought the only way that the Bucs were going to be able to win is if they could get ahead and just run the ball. And that's what they did, but they still ended up giving the MVP to Brady.
Right. It's just kind of it's the Super Bowl MVP is almost like the NFL MVP. It's almost just like a default quarterback award.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works out, huh?
Yeah. But you're absolutely right. That rushing came through. It wasn't necessarily the star of the offense there, but it was absolutely necessary, and it was a good chunk of their success. If it would have just been completely up to Brady and he had to throw every down, it might have been a different ball game. But they had to be honest, and they had to keep someone in that box to protect against the run, and that just made the entire offense that much more available for Tom Brady.
And as good of a game manager as Tom is, like I said, he only threw for 200 yards. Patrick Mahomes threw for much more. He threw for 270 yards. Unfortunately, he had 0 touchdowns and threw 2 interceptions. He also ran for about 600 yards or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Only 33 of it counted as rushing yards, but he scrambled the entire game. He was out there moving. If Brady had as much pressure on him as Mahomes had, then it would have been a completely different ballgame. But that was another key difference, was the fact that the Buccaneers defense was able to be in Mahomes' face every play. It seemed like that dude was running for his life the entire game.
Absolutely. It was almost like watching a Ravens game or something. Like Lamar Jackson's just constantly running around, and that's what Mahomes had to do. You could tell from the beginning of the game that he just wasn't ready for that. And he's obviously used to scrambling, but not like that. That was a completely different thing. He was, like you said, absolutely running for his life. That offensive line, I guess they had a couple starters out on an injury or something like that. And yeah, I mean, they suffered terribly on that O-line.
Yeah, we were getting to it there, Brandon. Hold on just a second. We were about to mention it. He's like, no one wants to talk about the crippled O-line. Yeah, the Chiefs did have some injuries on the offensive line, and that was a huge factor. But the fact remains, the defensive line of the Bucs was able to penetrate only using 4 to 5 players. They didn't have to blitz consistently to get that pressure on Patrick Mahomes, which meant they could have the coverage in the backfield. They were able to contain Tyreek Hill. He only got 73 yards receiving, which by Tyreek Hill standards is not that great. Yeah, Kelsey ended up with 133 yards, but he wasn't able to get into the end zone. Anytime that they were close to the goal line, they were stuffed. They were able to close it down and not let them get any more yardage. And say what you will, the offensive line not being healthy. You want to cry about the guy that went off to be a doctor out in Canada or whatever, not playing. Well, he hasn't played the entire season. The fact remains, they were able to shut it down with a 4-man rush.
Yeah. If you remember at the beginning of the game, Tony Romo did his little analysis or keys to success or whatever it is. And he said for the Bucs defense, they had to basically have 2 men in the back covering for a huge Tyreek Hill play, and so that he couldn't just break out. And that's exactly what they did. They had one corner on Tyreek Hill, and then they had one of their safeties in the back there to cover that. And it worked all damn game. They were not able to open it up. One, because the offensive line just could not protect Mahomes, and 2, if he were to be able to get a pass off, he couldn't get it to anybody, and they couldn't make a play.
That was another thing that I saw, was a lot of dropped passes. Mahomes would scramble. He would dive like he was a shortstop that just picked up a ground ball and was firing it to first base, and then it would hit his player in the helmet and go between his hands. They did have a lot of moments like that where it was like, oh, that should be a touchdown. Oh, it's not. And that's just the way the ball bounced. There also were a lot of penalties. The penalties did eat the Chiefs up. A lot of dumb penalties and a lot of tic-tac fouls. So It is what it is. I'm glad to see that Brandon said that he's not blaming the refs for it all, because that's one of the cheapest excuses in the book, is to turn around and blame the refs. But there were a lot of poor penalties. And, anytime that you're getting destroyed by penalties and giving Tom Brady free first downs, and that I will die on this shield. You do not call timeouts to give Tom Brady extra time. I don't care if you're trying to get the ball back with 30 seconds left in the half or whatever. If you're calling timeouts, Tom Brady will make you pay. He did it to the Packers and scored a last-second touchdown, and he did it to the Chiefs.
Yeah, and that was huge momentum going into the second half. If you can score right before the half, doesn't matter if you're getting the ball back or not. That's huge. That's basically free points for the rest of the game, and that was a bad decision. Like you said, you do not give Tom Brady any extra time. He doesn't need any extra time. If you're going to give him extra time, it's going to be a bad day. And yeah, same about the penalties. This was just one of those games where the refs were basically calling everything that they saw. Some referee crews let them play. Some call penalties. You can't control it. They're out there doing whatever that they think is the right way to do it. And this was one of the games where they weren't really letting anything slide. If you're not going to adapt to that, and if you're not going to, play how the refs, see is the right way to play or whatever, they're gonna hurt you for it. And I guess you can blame the refs if you want to, but you're the one making the penalties.
Yep. And I mean, I know whenever you're down by 20 points or whatever, you can't really get going your run game and you can't really get your offense going. So you have to try to just move the ball and all that stuff. But the Chiefs not going with Clyde Edwards-Helaire more was baffling to me. He was the only player that was able to get yardage consistently. The dude rushed for 64 yards and he averaged 7.1 yards a carry. So he was picking up good yardage every time he touched the ball, but he wasn't really utilized very, very much. They were down. I understand that, but the run was open all day long because the Bucs defense was pulling back because they knew that the throw was coming. Yeah. You could have gave him the ball a lot more consistently, then they would have had to respect the run, pull that defense up, and then you can attack downfield. You've got to set it up.
Right. I remember right when the second half started, you and I texted saying, hey, Clyde Edwards-Helaire's getting after it. Whoever decided to give him the ball made a right decision. And then they just stopped doing it. I remember he had two pretty good breakout runs there. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, this is definitely the right move to make. Get the running game established. They're going to have to respect the run, and then you can throw it over their heads. They just ended up not doing it, and Mahomes had to start scrambling again.
Yep, I don't get it. I was saying all season long that they needed to utilize Edwards-Helaire a lot more, in part because I had him on my fantasy team, but he was not being used. He was a guy that is a weapon. This dude is the type of guy that he can put the entire game on his shoulders and just run with it, and he's not getting used properly.
Right. The Chiefs' offense is already just unmatched in terms of weapons and ability. Imagine if you add a very capable running back to that. I mean, how can you defend against that? If you can't solely defend against the run because they'll throw it. You can't solely defend against the throw because they'll run it. I mean, I don't understand why that wasn't part of the game plan from day one. That should have been a no-brainer. You have a good running back, utilize him. It doesn't matter if you have Patrick Mahomes. That's just going to make him that much better.
Yep. Why take him in the first round if you're not going to use him, Packers? Anyway, let's talk about the Twitter moments that took place after the game. That part of the excitement of the Super Bowl and part of the allure of it is the fallout. What happens after the game? And in the Twitter moments after this game, we saw Patrick Mahomes' mom and fiance take to Twitter to air their grievances and vent their frustrations. First, Mama Mahomes went out, tagged Giselle. She said, at Giselle, if you have the ref on your team, is that really winning? That sounds like a little bit of a sore sport to me, considering that the Kansas City Chiefs have gotten some pretty favorable calls and some favorable treatment from the NFL all season long. And then Mama Mahomes getting a little bit butthurt and just outright blaming the refs.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I think it's a bad look. And I mean, this is the second time in a month that she's gone viral for something dumb that she said on Twitter. I mean, enough's enough, lady.
And you know what's bad is because she's going viral with this crap, she's going to continue it.
Absolutely.
The wife is going to continue it. And then they're going to become these Karens online that are just bitching about games when their kid doesn't win or whatever.
Well, and you alluded to it, Brittany Matthew, Mahomes' fiance, she slammed CBS on Twitter for showing Patrick Mahomes' sad face over and over again on the broadcast. What do you think happens when you're playing a game and you're losing? They show the players and their emotions as they're playing the game. She got pissed off that they were showing him not happy, which is ridiculous. And then ESPN tweeted out the photo of him being upset or sad or whatever, and she slammed ESPN. She's like, oh, it would be nice if one of the largest sports networks out there would, show support for one of the best athletes in the world or whatever. It's like, come on. Like, I get it. Yeah, he's good, but he doesn't need you pumping his ego.
Right. It doesn't matter if he's the best player in the world or not. ESPN is there to cover sports and what happens in sports. How many times has the game coverage or whatever, or a sports organization like ESPN, shown Tom Brady's face whenever he's upset. Clayton Kershaw is famous for hanging his head in the dugout when he gives up a big game in the World Series. That's just what happens. When you start losing a game and you show your emotions, they're going to freaking show it on TV. Like, you're playing a sport. You're not like, I don't get that at all. Like, ESPN is not there to support Patrick Mahomes. They're there to show us what's going on in the world of sports.
Yep. I mean, she must have forgotten that crying Jordan is a popular meme on the internet. She must have forgotten all the Tom Brady seeking high five memes that are out there. All the countless other athletes. You mentioned Clayton Kershaw. I'm sure he does not like seeing the head hanging memes in October. It is what it is. You know, these Kansas City Karens, they've ruined Patrick Mahomes, at least online. Right. Because now that's all people are going to be talking about is how terrible they are and want to make fun of him for having his wenches go out there and do his bidding for him.
Yeah. It's going to be really annoying. I don't see an end in sight unless maybe he tells them to stop or something. But I think they're going to come back next year and start doing the same crap. And God, that is the most annoying thing ever. Someone who has no importance and has no hand in what Patrick Mahomes does, voicing their opinion and thinking that what they say is important is the most annoying thing ever.
Yep. While we're talking about tweets, Tyrann Mathieu tweeted after the game that Tom Brady said some stuff that he won't repeat. But Tyrann, he himself had always handled everything with grace and class. After he was informed that Tom Brady was mic'd up during the game, he promptly deleted that tweet and wants nothing to do with revealing with what he was going to say. So it sounds like to me, maybe Tom Brady said something like, you're just a punk or whatever. And then Mathieu was going to blow it out of proportion. Speaking of being classy and graceful, after the game, it's reported now and verified that Tom Brady texted him personally, didn't air it on social media, but texted him personally to apologize for whatever it was that was said when he was fired up during the game. That's how you handle something with class, is you handle it between yourselves instead of airing your grievances on social media. Tyrann Mathieu has a lot to learn about playing with grace and class in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. There at the end of the first half, obviously tensions were high, emotions were high for the Chiefs, and they were not having a good game, and they absolutely got the best of Matthews. He, whatever was said between him and Tom Brady doesn't really matter because it's two guys trying to win a football game, and adrenaline is high, testosterone's high. You're going to say some stuff. That's just the name of the game. That's sports in general.
Yep.
For him to go out on social media trying to get some brownie points by saying that Tom said some stuff he wouldn't mention here or whatever was kind of BS.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of dumb. Speaking of kind of dumb, the halftime show, what'd you think of that? I've seen a lot of mixed reactions out there. I've seen a lot of people saying that it was, stupid. It was terrible. It was the worst ever. And then I've seen a lot of people saying that they loved it. So what did you feel like it?
I'm a fan of The Weeknd. He makes really good music. He's got a lot of good talent. But that as a show was not enjoyable for me. The weird camera angles and like that mirror scene was weird. And then when he went onto the field with 100 other guys in masks, it didn't strike me as a good what's the word? It wasn't entertaining, really.
Okay.
His music is fine. He performed fine, but just the theatrics of it all and the way it was like presented was just very weird.
And what's even more uncanny about it, and that was one of the things that I recognized early on, was the fact that it was just him. Normally, these Super Bowl halftime performances are mega shows with a bunch of different stars and celebrities, and you get the best of all these cool collabs that you never really see and stuff like that. But it was just The Weeknd. And that's fine. I don't mind The Weeknd's music. I don't mind him as an entertainer, but it was just kind of a weird thing. And then to find out today that he dipped into his own pocket to spend $7 million because he blew the budget way out, that makes sense why they didn't have any other performers. that makes sense why they didn't have this and that. And it was all just him. He paid $7 million out of his pocket. The Pepsi halftime show budget was already $10 million. So that was a $17 million performance for him to be out there dancing with dudes with jock straps on their faces.
That was just crazy. Where the hell was that money spent? It's not like they did anything that crazy.
I guess that Hall of Mirrors was pretty wild and extravagant and all that stuff. But I mean, I could do that in my hallway here in my house for a lot less money. And then I guess the intricate backgrounds and all that stuff were super expensive. And I don't know, man, but I like you, I was not very entertained by it.
No, I think it would have kind of broken the monotony too if he would have brought up somebody else. It could even be another artist that's like him. It didn't have to be like a rock band or anything. If he would have just had like even one other artist up there, it would be like, oh damn, now it's this person. But just for the entire time, for him to be singing his hit songs in like a minute, and then he changed the song. It was like whatever. It didn't really hit the mark for me.
Yep. So, I mean, that's going with the theme of Super Bowls is, winners and losers. And I think this Super Bowl halftime show was a loser. Yep. And especially in, comparison to some of the other ones that we've gotten to see in our lifetime, Michael Jackson was a phenomenal Super Bowl halftime show. The year that NSYNC and Britney Spears and Aerosmith all collaborated, Bruno Mars a few years back. These were fantastic halftime shows. And then this one just didn't really meet up, like this was way worse than Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake.
Right.
That one at least gave us a peep show.
Right. Yeah.
Brandon Janis says that a lot of halftime shows sucked. And yeah, that's true. A lot of them have, but some of them have been phenomenal. Yeah. Just like the commercials. Commercials have winners and losers too. And I think a lot of people out there, they look forward to the Super Bowl just for the commercials. I know people that go to Super Bowl parties for the food and for the commercials. And this year, the commercials were, they were all right. There were some good ones and some real stinkers. What were some of your favorites, Zach?
I liked the one with damn, I can never remember his name. The dude from The Office.
Stanley.
Yes. Yeah. That was a good one.
That was the Scott's Turf Builder one.
Yeah. That one was pretty funny.
Y'all don't be tickety talking over there.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you catch the one? I think it was towards the end that was for the new Alexa that had Michael B. Jordan in it.
Yeah. That one was kind of,
I thought that one was funny. Like it was like it was like a woman's thing or whatever. I just thought it was funny that like he was the Alexa or whatever.
I thought it was creepy that he was sitting in the bathtub fully dressed and she was sitting in the bathtub naked and just reading a book or reciting a book to her.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, there weren't that many that really stuck out to me. Shaggy, I don't remember that one.
That was the Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis. That It Wasn't Me. It was like a Cheeto finger hand.
That's right. Yeah. There were some stinkers this year. I think a lot of companies, kind of like Coke and Pepsi and all those other ones that didn't show up. I think a lot of companies are kind of realizing that a huge commercial for the Super Bowl isn't necessarily worth that $5 million price tag. I didn't really see one that was, that really stuck out as being like, oh man, this is great. And I don't think that we're going to have another one that's going to be around for years, like the Budweiser Frogs or any stuff like that. At least from what I remember, it's been a few years since there's been like a really good one.
Yeah. Budweiser Frogs are iconic. It's classic. Bud Light Lemonade. They did the lemons raining from the sky commercial this year. That was all right, I guess, just trying to give a comical nod to this current situation that we're all in with last year being such a sour year, right, and making this year better. So they're making their new Bud Light lemonade seltzer drink, whatever it is. I don't know. I won't drink it, but it is what it is. I also like the Wayne's World with Cardi B. I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah. And to give Patrick Mahomes a W, I actually like the State Farm commercial with him, Aaron Rodgers, and Drake.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. What did he say to Drake? second guys don't have lines or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
stand-ins don't have lines or whatever it was.
that was pretty good.
Yeah, that one was pretty good. I like that one. Paul Rudd was in that commercial, which
Right.
was kind of funny.
Yep.
Yeah, no Twisted Tea commercials. That is kind of weird considering how viral that went for a little while. But I think they got enough free advertisement from that dude getting his face smashed in with a can.
Yeah, I guess they kept their $5 million.
Are there any that stand out as loser commercials for you?
The one about that oat milk brand. Do you remember that one?
He like spilt the milk and the daughter was under the table to catch it in her bowl or whatever. Is that the right one?
There was one where this dude was singing terribly about how oat milk is for humans. I don't know if you remember that one. It was freaking god awful.
Yeah, that sucks.
Well, I don't ever want to drink that brand of milk ever. So that just was the exact opposite effect of what you wanted.
I thought the Matthew McConaughey 3D Doritos commercial was terrible as well, where he was flat and then he found a 3D Doritos after he like slithered his way into a vending machine, ate the Dorito, and then was suddenly stuck. I thought that one, and Doritos usually deliver. They usually have the good commercials, and that one was just kind of whatever.
Yep, that was a dud.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Something more enjoyable for us to talk about. In the major leagues, we've had another Hollywood blockbuster in the offseason. Last year, the LA Dodgers made headlines whenever they traded for Mookie Betts and David Price. But this year, they made a huge splash in free agency by signing Trevor Bauer. This was a guy that he's been trolling pretty much every team in the majors, and then it boiled down to the Mets and the Dodgers. You were on the Rip Griffin show this past Thursday, and I know you guys were waiting to break the news that he was going to sign. It didn't come out until Friday afternoon where he actually signed, though. Trevor Bauer going to LA. What do you think of that move, Zach?
Wild move. I mean, the amount of money that the Dodgers are paying is unreal for this guy. What was it, a 3-year deal with options for each year or something? Was that the number of years?
Yes, it's a 3-year deal, but there's an opt out for Trevor Bauer before the 3rd year. So he's locked in for 2. And this year he's going to get $40 million, and next year it's $45 million, and then he can opt out. And if he doesn't opt out, then that 3rd year is only $17 million. So it's very heavily front loaded.
Yeah. Talk about a player friendly deal. This dude plays every 5 days and he gets $30 million a year. That's absolutely unreal. Talk about a guy who just absolutely capitalized on one good season, 60-game season at that. He hasn't been bad before that, but it's not like he was lighting the world on fire. And then he just kind of becomes this like internet guy who's, always on social media posting this and that and the other.
Yeah.
He absolutely capitalized on that. And I guess you can't be mad at him for going out there to get his money, but I don't know if that was money well spent. I guess time will tell.
Yeah, time definitely will tell. When the Dodgers made the trade for Mookie Betts, it was that piece that put them over the top so that they could win that World Series that had eluded them for years. This signing screams to me that the Dodgers were nervous. And they're not nervous because the Yankees got better, or they're not nervous because, somebody else got better. They got nervous because the Padres got so much better. And they're not just worried about not making it back to the World Series. They're worried about not winning the National League West, because the Padres have tooled and retooled and restructured, and they've built a winner down in San Diego. And this signing of Trevor Bauer screams that they were nervous and that they were shaken by what the Padres have done.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that the Dodgers saw the moves that were being made in the National League. The Cardinals are legit now that they've signed Nolan Arenado. Like you said, the Padres are a force to be reckoned with now because they have some solid freaking pitchers that they signed this year. I think the Dodgers saw those moves and said, we're not only worried about winning the World Series, we're winning about winning the NLCS.
Yep. I 100% think that, and I think that they are paying for it for the next 2 years. And I don't think Trevor Bauer stays for a third. I think after he gets paid $45 million, how can he live off of $17 million after that?
Right.
He, to kind of quote Dak a little bit out of context, but I think he's going to be shopped around somewhere after that, and he won't complete this contract in LA.
Right.
You guys were talking about it on the Rip Griffin show on Thursday night because the news had kind of been leaked or something that it was close to a deal with the Mets. And I know you guys were sitting there waiting to break that, and you were ready to do it. Well, apparently there was an inadvertent leak from Bauer's technical team where they had basically websites built, ready to go, ready to launch for whenever he signed a deal. And one of the people on his team accidentally posted one of those links, the wrong link, to their social media pages. And of course, it spread like wildfire before they could take it down. And Bauer actually came out and did something cool, and he issued an apology to the Mets fans saying, hey, we made the mistake. I take full ownership, full, credit. I wasn't trying to troll anybody. I wasn't trying to make it seem like I was coming there when I really wasn't, because at that point he still had not officially made up his mind and he had not officially signed anywhere. And I thought it was cool that he actually came out and admitted that they screwed up, because a lot of guys would have just swept it under the rug and been like, oh, well, not my team. I don't care. But that's cool that he said something.
Yeah, that was a nice class act. Did you also hear that he has said that he's going to donate $10,000 to several Mets fans or charities or whatever? I don't know the specifics, but yeah, he said that he's going to donate some charities to Mets things, whatever they may be.
Yeah, as a way of apologizing for this as well. Yeah, that is cool. I'm glad to see it. I saw the amounts were like $10,000, $20,000 somewhere in there, which, I mean, it's nothing to sneeze at, but when you're a $40 million man, it's kind of a drop in the hat, but It is what it is. Anything going to charity is better than nothing. So at least he's doing that. Tip of the cap for that kind of a move. We got a question here. What do we think of the new cover of the show? And of course, that's with Fernando Tatis Jr. of the San Diego Padres. I like it. I think it's cool. It's one of the iconic images of him flipping the bat, and he's kind of, got his hand up around his face or whatever. I like it. Tatis is becoming one of the faces of baseball. He's definitely out there. One of the type of guys that these kids these days want to emulate. So why not put him on the cover of your video game?
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. The video game is kind of marketed towards maybe a younger generation. Obviously, old farts aren't going to be playing this video game. I think it's a smart move. If you're going to try to get kids to be enticed into baseball, a video game is a great place to do that. And you might as well put a young, exciting electric player on the cover so that they can kind of merge the two worlds, their little video game world with an actual baseball world, and maybe they'll become baseball fans. I think it's a smart move. I'm also really glad to see that the show is finally coming to Xbox.
Yeah, that's wonderful. We've talked about it the past couple weeks. How do you grow a sport and how do you expand a fan base? This is one of the ways that we've suggested that you should do it, and just make your video games accessible to everyone. Make it to where more people have eyes on your product. It's been silly for the however long that it's been a PlayStation exclusive. I get maybe it's because Sony owns the studio that produced the game and blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing that's kind of going on with Bethesda. Sony now owns Bethesda Studios. So there's rumors that, or maybe it's Microsoft, one of the big companies owns Bethesda. So that's kind of being rumored that future Elder Scrolls games may be exclusive content, which would, in my opinion, destroy that franchise. But, it is what it is. I think that's kind of why PlayStation had the exclusive rights to MLB The Show, but it makes so much sense to open that up now, especially now that these things are starting to become cross-play available and all that stuff. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. You're gonna reach a much larger market if you're on more than one system. I think MLB on the front end made a crap ton of money from PlayStation and from Sony to make the game exclusively on the PlayStation platform. But I think that ultimately hurt them in the end. You basically alienate half of the video game people out there that don't ever intend on buying a PlayStation, and they'll never be able to play your game. It's an easy way to make some money right up front. You're going to lose sales because you're clearly not going to get a whole bunch of people to buy your game, but that company that signs the exclusivity is going to give you a crap ton of money right up front. So it's an easy way to make some quick money, I guess. And I'm assuming that's what the thought process was from MLB.
Yeah, I agree. And that covers the standard version with Fernando Tatis Jr. on the cover, but they're also doing a special Jackie Robinson edition, so that you can get Jackie Robinson on the cover. And I'm looking to see if it gives anything special to incentivize you more than just having Jackie on the cover. And it looks like you get a special bat skin. You get some diamond packs and gold choices for your diamond teams and all that stuff. So you get 10 the show packs so you can get better players and all that stuff. A one ball player equipment pack, double dailies, 10,000 stubs. So you get a little bit of in-game content and currency and stuff like that.
Yep.
If you get the deluxe edition, you get an MLB The Show hat if you're into that kind of thing. But I don't know. For me, I'll probably just get the standard edition because I don't need all that extras. I really just look forward to these games to play the Road to the Show feature. I love building a guy and trying to make it to the majors, make it to the Hall of Fames. Have to bring back Johnny Coyote again.
Yeah, that'll be perfect. All that kind of extra stuff is for their Diamond Dynasty thing, which is basically their version of Madden Ultimate Team.
Yeah, that's right. So
they'll build your franchise mode or whatever that people for whatever reason love. I've never really been a big fan of that. I just want to, like you, I want to create a character and play as them through a career.
Yeah, I'm looking right now to see the changes for Road to the Show. Not really seeing anything that's too significant right now. There's a poll on Reddit that asks, how should Road to the Show start? And out of the 500 and some odd people that voted, 403 said that you should start and do a year of high school and play 5 to 10 games at that level before going up to college and then going for your draft. I guess that would be a good way for you to get the feel of the game with, minimal competition and stuff like that, right, so that you could jump right in. And I know you've said in the past that you struggled hitting and you preferred pitching or whatever. So maybe hitting against high school caliber pitchers would get you dialed in a little bit better. Yeah. I don't know. That sounds interesting. Pick your own high school and you could play for your actual high school, kind of like the old NCAA football games where you could create your own school and stuff.
Yeah. I think that was a really cool feature.
Yeah, that game's coming back too, NCAA football. I know a lot of people are stoked on that one.
Yeah, I cannot wait for that to come out. I wonder how long it's going to take them to release a game.
Yeah, I don't know. I know when it was initially announced, we saw all the graphics coming out with NCAA football 21, which I believe could be doable because of the fact that they have the Madden engine and all that stuff, and all they really have to do is plug that in, change it a little bit, and go. It's like that old joke in Grandma's Boy, like, oh, just change the goblins to render it a different color, and no one will know the difference. Yep. It's kind of what they really do in real life. Is like, oh, well, instead of the Kansas City Chiefs, you are now going to be the University of Alabama. Go.
Yep, pretty much, and just change the graphic. That's how they created Sub-Zero for Mortal Kombat.
Yep,
they took the Scorpion character and just made him blue. So, yeah, I'm super excited for that game. I wouldn't bet that they're going to have a 2021 game. I would imagine 2022 is more likely. I'm here for a 2021 game, even if it is just a Madden clone with colleges on it. I'll still buy the hell out of that.
You don't think that would actually hurt it in the long run if it was a Madden clone and people were like, oh, it's just Madden with colleges, I don't want that, and then going forward they wouldn't want to buy it again?
I think that the true fans of the NCAA football franchise will continue to buy it. I mean, we've been hungry for that kind of game since the last one came out in 2013, which was NCAA 14.
14, yeah.
And people have been playing that ever since. There's even mods and stuff out there to update rosters and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So people are hungry for that kind of game. It may hurt some if they come out with a crappy just swapped version of Madden that they call an NCAA football. But if that gets the tires rolling and that gets the revenue flowing, then insert the fry, shut up and take my money meme, because that's exactly what I will do.
Yeah. Brandon Mateer on here saying that he saw a lot of people saying they won't play it if it's a Madden engine. So that's people that are expecting a brand new thing, So we'll see. We'll see what happens with it. Obviously we have no control or creative input on it, but if it were up to me, they would make it a little bit different, because that was the allure of the NCAA games. It was like Madden, but it was its own thing. So
the thing I loved the most was the race for the Heisman. And I think they started that in like 06 or something. At least that's the first game I remember doing. You do all 4 years of college and you try to obviously win the Heisman. And I loved that mode.
Yeah. It's
maybe it was 05.
It's been a while since I've even played any of these games. I've still got my copy of NCAA 14. It's up in the video game chest right now.
Yeah, classic.
I probably should have sold it back before they announced that they were coming out with the 21. Maybe I could have made a quick couple $100 off of eBay or something.
I remember a couple of years ago, I was looking around for it just to see if I could find it. And I found a couple copies and they were like $30 a piece. So yeah, the market definitely kind of inflated that because it was the last game of that series.
Yeah. Mateer commenting on here saying that you could transfer your character over to that year's Madden too. Yeah, that was a pretty cool feature that you could play them in college, and then you could bring them up to the NFL and then get drafted, play on your favorite team in the NFL and all that stuff. What I'm looking forward to is if they're able to use player likenesses and names and all that stuff, how much easier is it going to be as an NFL fan to get to know the best players from the NCAA, play the video game, see who's leading all the stats and stuff because it is impossible to sit down and cover the entire NCAA just by yourself. You need an entire team of people to be able to cover that, because you've got hundreds of games going on all the time. You can't sit there and watch Iowa versus Nebraska because you're too busy watching Georgia versus Alabama. You know what I'm saying? So it will be cool to get to actually see a game with real college names. Maybe you won't have everyone, like you won't have Deuce Morton from Pikeville University or whatever it is, but it will be cool to see some of these other guys out there that are real life talents that are out there balling.
Yeah, that'd be totally awesome. And I think that's an easy way to pay the college players, like we've talked about in episodes past. Maybe the college doesn't necessarily have to pay them a check, but EA Sports could throw them a check and throw their name and likeness and all that stuff on the character in the game.
Yep. I think it would be cool. Anyway, you got anything else you want to talk about?
I think we're good. Yeah, like Brandon mentioned a few times, I was on the Rip Griffin show, who are a friend of ours. If you remember Brad, he's been on our show here on the Nest a couple of times covering baseball. That episode was a Cardinals episode. Of course, we talked about other news in baseball, but if you're a baseball fan, go ahead and check that out. It's the Rip Griffin Show. They're on all the same platforms that we are. It was a good time, and yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay, cool. And once again, I'll be on NFL Trash Talk 2021 tomorrow, talking about all things Super Bowl. Hopefully going to be set up to show some of the better Super Bowl commercials. I'm going to try to find some links that won't get me kicked off of the internet for doing that. I think I should be fine sharing it exclusively in a closed group like that. I don't think I'll violate the terms. I think what really got us whenever we did the UFC one was the fact that we were broadcasting on YouTube as well. But Tomorrow night, I'll be on NFL Trash Talk 2021. I'll be doing another open mic night for anybody that wants to jump on, share their thoughts and feelings about the Super Bowl. If you want to come on and cry about the refs, you can. I'll just make fun of you the whole time, and we'll have a good time. And like my boy Antoine Winfield Jr., we out. Peace.